Oh. So, I guess there is a bad side to me using the mute feature on Twitch Studio. It's the Crypt Jam. Yes, it was. Hi, guys. Let me jump over here. Here we go. This time everything seems to be working, I think. Except my Discord overlay isn't working. It's okay. The horror. Horror. Hi, Pico.
Hello.
So, yeah. I will. I don't know how worried I am with that. If it's just going to be a couple of us in here talking, I'm not sure how big of a deal it is to have the overlay up there. No, it's not that it's broken. It's that we did when we did Friday Flex. I just didn't switch it back to the my Discord server. It's still set to phase. So hopefully no. Well, I could just turn that layer off, couldn't I? Say, hopefully nobody joins over in phase. But there, now it's off. So, greetings, salutations to everybody. It is kind of a dreary. It's a perfect night for talking spooky history here. It is cloudy, cold, and windy, and there's like periodic rain. It's a great night for it. History Kevin would have been here, but History Kevin is actually giving a haunted tour of the Haunted Mansion. So I will be giving a haunted tour of the Haunted Mansion tomorrow. He's doing it tonight. So it is indeed the season. So, but Pico, how are you?
I am. Today has been a very off-balance day.
Has it
very, very off-balance.
Has it been a spooky off-balance day?
A stressful off-balance day? I feel like the weather has something to do with it, or the temperature change, but it's just a lot of factors.
I gotcha. Well, it's going to get even more weird, because we're kind of going to continue where we left off in the last stream, except for the fact that we'll be a little bit more unplugged about it tonight than we were probably last time. So it makes sense that you're here for this one, right?
Yeah, of course.
One of the things that I was told that I had to talk about via Bob is that we have to talk about the Manhattan, or not the Manhattan Project. We had to talk about the Philadelphia experiment. And I remember looking at it and I was just like, yeah, I don't know if I want to go down that I don't know if I want to go down that hole. Cuz that just seems like a terrible hole and disaster to go down. But we might. Bonnie could probably help me go down the hole with the Philadelphia experiment.
Speaking of Bonnie, there she is.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry about that. Had to fix some input and output settings.
It was all good. I need to fix your volume because I've fudged with everybody's volume, so welcome, Bonnie.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah. So yeah, tonight it's pretty much a grab bag of stuff, pretty much of whatever anybody wanted to talk about, spooky or strange stuff in history. I mean, there's plenty of it. We could make a whole entire series out of it, but I've decided to spread that out amongst the next 100,000 years that I stream.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm going to be streaming for 100,000 years, but anyway.
Imagine.
Huh?
I can imagine that.
You
All
can...
of us being here for 100,000 years in the stream, doing an unplugged history stream.
Welcome to episode
200,035,000.
Yeah, 253 million, season 47,000 of Unplugged history, where we sit around and get high on space lizards and drink goat beer. I don't know. I was trying to think of something.
Have you ever had beer made from anything to do with goats?
No, have you?
Terrifying.
Have you?
No. But I feel like someone would have made a beer made of wheat that was that a goat that was fertilized with goat dung.
That's real. Bonnie, I feel like you would know this too. I don't know why, but I feel
I wish.
like THK would drink goat beer. You'd be incorrect. You would be wrong about that. Pico, on the other hand.
No, I would stay at least 100 feet away from any sign of goat beer.
Now, when I worked at the pet store, we used to have this thing called Bowser beer, which was beer for dogs. I'm convinced it was just beef broth, but
Why?
listen, I just sold the shit. All right? I didn't make it. I just sold it.
I'm questioning the existence. Like,
Well, they do have. Well, they do. In Japan, farmers for Wagyu beef feed their cattle beer, among other things, which apparently stimulates them, stimulates their appetites. So, yeah, it wouldn't be unprecedented for other mammals to have their own beers, I think.
Really, you really shouldn't give your chat. Don't give your dogs beer. It's not good
don't
for them.
do it.
Don't do that. It's bad, and I will find you, and I will hurt you. All right. Let's see here. I feel like we've talked about the flying crowbar a number of times, but that also seems like a pretty good spooky history thing. Because the concept of it is so weird. Actually, I think we talked about that last Unplugged history, didn't we?
What was it? What? Crowbar? Or
The
did I
flying
miss
crowbar? Yeah, the cruise missile that we just launch and it would perpetually fly around, and then when we decided we wanted to use it, we'd fly it, have it launch all 8 to 15 of its nuclear warheads, and then push the reactor in it to critical and just let it spread radiation all over every place else that didn't get nuked.
I don't remember that.
Oh, okay. So there's this missile that we could just send up there, and, once it fires off all 15 of its warheads, push it into critical, and let it just spread radiation everywhere.
That sounds perfectly healthy for every citizen and creature on the Earth, right?
Right. I mean, it's a great idea. Fly around perpetually spreading radiation.
A great Halloween prank. Perfect.
Hey, Papa Putin. Gotcha. That was a little dark. I apologize.
Oh my.
Hey, Papa She. Got you. See, that was lighter. Jeez. So, yeah, things I feel are always spooky, though. Aren't they?
Yeah. I do have a spooky story to tell. It does have to do with aviation, though it's not military.
Okay.
You might know this one.
Alrighty.
So, for the old people here, has anyone ever heard of a certain company named Eastern Airlines?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yep.
Your parents might have known about it. So in the 70s, there was Eastern Airlines was more or less around its height. It was one of actually the oldest airlines in the US. Started around the same time as a lot of the legacy carriers, American, United, Pan Am, TWA, and in the 70s, it firmly consolidated itself as a major player in the jet age. They also took delivery of aircrafts that were revolutionizing air travel at the time. Among them was the Lockheed L-1011, which was Lockheed's answer to the DC-10. And it so happened that in 1972, one of these aircraft crashed in the Florida Everglades while attempting a landing at Miami. Now, what happened was that when they were landing, the nose gear light didn't illuminate. That in itself isn't a problem. So they went into a holding pattern in order to try to fix the problem. But they were so occupied fixing that problem that they didn't notice anything else. They didn't pay attention to anything else. And so the flight started losing altitude, and eventually, when they realized that they had lost so much altitude they were about to crash, it was too late. I'm just gonna try to get some of the numbers here. So of 176 people on board, 101 people died, including all 4 of the flight crew. Some of them were killed instantly. Some of them were found alive but later died in the hospital. 75 survivors. Now, what happened after the crash is this. So, because the aircraft had relatively intact parts, after salvage operations, Eastern Airlines decided to take some of the parts from this aircraft and use them as replacement parts for some of the other aircraft in their fleet. So, around this time, people, like passengers and crew, began reporting ghosts of the dead crew members on the planes.
How long are you on those planes, though? Like, that's a really short duration of time, I feel like.
A lot of the stories are like sort of like brief encounters, I think. I'm just trying to recall everything and just read a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so apparently some of these stories include like the flight attendants claiming to have seen the flight engineer's reflection in an oven door in the galley. An attendant opening an overhead bin to see the dead captain's face staring back at her. And apparently there was even like a cockpit crew that saw the flight engineer sitting in the jump seat, who then warned them about a faulty electrical circuit, which they found and ended up fixing. Yeah. It's something.
I don't know what to think about. See, my whole thing with like haunted aircraft has always been like, especially airliners, like, you're never really like, there's always people around to corroborate, what's happening. I feel like that's a hard one to bullshit. I mean, I'm looking at the story too, and yeah, that is what is reported. It's so weird to me. Like, who would have thought? I don't think of a haunted jet airliner. When I'm thinking of stuff, I'm thinking of like, land the plane. There's a monkey outside the plane. there's a monster on the wing of the plane. So that's what I always think of. It's like, I don't know.
I mean that's more in the realm of Mayday or air crash investigation, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Love that show, by the way.
Yep.
But yeah, apparently the whole thing sort of spooked enough people that Eastern Airlines ended up replacing the parts from the crashed aircraft with new ones. And apparently they just never and then apparently no one reported anything after that.
We're never to speak of this ever
Apparently.
again. Never to speak
Well,
of this
management
again.
didn't want the crew speaking about it either, so
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
yeah, not a good image.
Okay, so it is my turn for legacy stories here. Once again, actual story. We're gonna talk about weapons though here. Anybody here familiar with the Demon Core?
No.
Bonnie, Demon Core?
No.
Okay. So I'm going to just read you off the Wikipedia description of it here real quick. The Demon Core was a spherical 14-pound subcritical mass of plutonium, 3.5 inches in diameter, manufactured during World War II by the United States Nuclear Weapon Development Effort, also known as the Manhattan Project, as a fissile core for an early atomic bomb. It was involved in 2 criticality accidents on 21 August 1945 and 21 May 1946. And it was intended for use in the intended third nuclear weapon that was to be dropped on Japan. So, of the nuclear material that was produced during the Manhattan Project, this particular piece of material was supposed to be used in the third atomic bomb that would have originally been dropped on Japan between the date of 21 August 1945 and 3 September 1945, had there been a need. So the first incident basically states here that it produced a burst of neutron radiation that led to the physicist's death when he was performing experiments on the core, working alone. I think this is the one where he accidentally dropped a screwdriver onto the core and caused it to go critical. He accidentally dropped a brick onto the core is what the first one was. It was the second one where the guy dropped a screwdriver on it. But yeah, so he drops a brick onto it, and it was just enough for a physicist and a guard to get a lethal dose of radiation and die basically from it. So the second incident was the screwdriver, and that time there were multiple people involved because there were people standing all around it, trying to observe this experiment that was being done. And they all died. Let's see here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people died from that exposure. Eventually, they decided that they were going to use it for Crossroads, a nuclear test that comes after it. But eventually, that idea eventually just gets scrapped. And basically, it ends up getting eventually destroyed and melted down, and then recycled into other reactor cores, which got spread around all over the place. But yeah, Demon Core, it had to go critical twice to achieve that title. Sucks to suck, though. Also, can you imagine being the dude that is standing with his buddies, just like, look at this, and then you accidentally, smack a screwdriver into a big ball of metal, and then all of a sudden you die? What a way to go.
Yeah.
You can see pictures of this thing online too, and it just looks like a ball of metal, is all that it looks like. Because that's all that the plutonium core is going to look like. Yeah, good stuff. There was also a very strange secondary article, but I can't remember what it was. It was on nuclear material that was confiscated from a lab and made its way to Brazil, and then people didn't know what it was when it got sold. And then like everybody was getting sick from handling this small piece of metal and dying. I'm trying to remember what that was, but there were a few incidents like that where nuclear material basically gets smuggled out of labs and then people die from handling it. But yeah, real shit there. So, don't go around playing with radioactive material, chat. No, no, no.
You're asking me not to go to.
Nope.
So you're asking me not
Nope.
to go to a nuclear core and drop a brick on it.
Unless you really like being immediately irradiated and dying by having your insides turn to liquid shit while you are still breathing and conscious, sure. I mean, you can do that. It's pretty much what happens.
For now.
Pretty much what's gonna happen if you do. That was one of the things that always made me laugh a little bit, because one of the descriptors of radiation sickness is literally just like shitting your intestines out. Good times.
Yep.
Good times. So, Pico, do you have any stories of real things that it doesn't necessarily have to be history associated, but it has to be like based in reality? Do you have anything that you want to toss out there?
I don't have any stories per se, but I will say that I would like to put an argument out there, but I'm unsure if it would work out in my favor. But
An argument about what?
An argument about whether people's stress and anxiety can create worse scary stories than actual real life events.
Oh hell. I mean, we could have this conversation. I think Bonnie's ready to go. The answer to that question, by the way, is yes. Yes, it can.
Yes. I rest my case.
Yes. Bonnie, we could talk the Norwegian spiral. Do you want to take the Norwegian spiral?
Ooh, I don't actually know that much about it, but I'll be happy to talk about it.
Okay. Norwegian spiral is interesting, guys. It's not necessarily that it's spooky. I mean, what happened was pretty conventional. You know what? This is one we could use a visual aid on this one. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can get a visual aid for you guys. The Norwegian spiral anomaly. Oh, there's actual videos of this thing? I did not know that. I did not know that there were videos of it. That's kind of cool, though. Is that actually... the... Okay, here we go. 2009 Norwegian spiral anomaly is what we're looking for. Yes. Whenever you're ready, Bonnie, you can take it away while I search for this the photo that I know belongs to it.
Okay. Let's see. So, basically, the quote-unquote spiral was, basically this event, this sort of phenomenon where there was some sort of light trail that sort of rose in the sky over Norway. and it just like it had this sort of like bluish light that was quite visible. Now, a lot of people said after, like, it was seen over a lot of Norway and a good deal of northern Sweden too.
This is the photo, by the way, right here.
And eventually, after like all of these like assumptions and speculations, eventually the Russians were like, I think that might have been us because we were testing ballistic missiles.
Yeah, they did eventually own it, and it matches the correct pattern for a ballistic missile contrail. But part of the reason Russia didn't want to admit to it right away is because you don't want to admit when a test goes wrong. And the spiral was an example of a test going wrong. So,
like, you don't normally admit these things because, like, usually you can just pass it off as something else. But with something that's that visible, seen by that many people kind of do take notice.
Huh.
And you'll probably want to help them clear up a few things.
Yeah. Although it is very neat. Now, historical context that I can draw out of this is that people were convinced that this is now one of the theories for the Dyatlov Pass, that there was a ballistic missile involved, and I'm not entirely sure how you get a ballistic missile into and inject that into a small area like the one peak in the Ural Mountains. I don't know how you get there, but somehow these people are getting there. Somehow these people are reaching that conclusion. So yeah, one of the theories is that there was an incident like the Norwegian spiral that caused it. No, there wasn't. Don't be dumb. But people want to believe in things that are weird, and here we are. It is pretty. I mean, look at that. Let's see that and be just like, ooh, ah. Also, I never really remembered if what we're looking at is just the rocket trail there, or if that's actually, like, going towards the moon there. I think it's the rocket trail. I think this is the sunset, like the horizon here. Which would probably mean that's not the moon. I think the moon would be behind us in this view. Still fun. Still cool. I like the story, though.
Actually, on sort of unexplained phenomenon related to weapons and of mass destruction, the Vela incident.
Oh, hit us with it.
Alright, so in September 1979, there was an American satellite detected a flash of light in the Indian Ocean about several hundred kilometers off the coast of South Africa. So there were actually two flashes, and yeah, they were able to detect like radiation that's associated with a nuclear detonation.
Yep.
So a lot of people sort of speculated that this had to be a nuclear test of some sort, and like the most common explanation now is that it was a nuclear test by South Africa and or Israel. But there's other suggestions that it could have been another power, including but not limited to France, India, Soviet Union even. But the South Africa-Israel one is kind of the most generally accepted theory there's no like there hasn't been a formal conclusion. The South Africans didn't provide documents that kind of definitively proved it, although like it's kind of a bit of an open secret that they had something to do with it.
I gotcha. I mean,
Yeah.
France would have made sense to me too, because wasn't France testing out in that area too?
They were testing in I think no, their nuclear tests were more in the Pacific, the South Pacific.
Oh, were they? I thought that they were in the Indian Ocean. Okay.
I'll have to check. All
right.
I do definitely know they were doing stuff in the South Pacific. I'm not so sure if they did anything.
There are a few of them in the Atlantic too. There are a few tests in the Atlantic.
Yeah. Okay.
Most of them were high altitude tests in the Atlantic, under the guise of us. Oh, it's just for research.
Yeah. No, the ones I'm seeing were like, yeah, no, the ones I'm seeing seem to be in the Pacific, because they do have possessions in the Pacific there.
All right.
First they used at first they used the desert in Algeria, then it seems they moved on to the Pacific.
I'm getting my next one here. Alright, here we go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for that one time that the US almost nuked itself. We're going to Goldsboro, North Carolina.
Oh no, of course it had to happen in my state.
The year is 1961, ladies and gentlemen. There is a Boeing B-52 Stratofortress that is carrying two 4-megaton Mark 39 nuclear bombs, and it breaks up in midair and deposits the nuclear payload in the process. The entire crew survived. However, let's see here. They were en route to Seymour Johnson, haha, get it, Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in Goldsboro. It was pretty much the middle of the night. Basically, they were going in for a refueling on I think it was probably it wouldn't have been a KC-135. It was probably a 46 still, wouldn't it have been, Bonnie? Or a 49.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so it was whatever predated the 135. Not that anyone in here, I think, is probably paying attention.
The 97.
The 97? Okay. So there was basically a leak of fuel in the aircraft, and the aircraft was going to make an emergency landing. Realized that pretty much it was starting, like, the aircraft was starting to fall apart. And the last that the crew actually see of the aircraft is that both of the thermonuclear bombs are still on board, and the aircraft was still in one piece. But the bombs will eventually separate from the aircraft between the altitudes of 1,000 feet and 2,000 feet. 3 of the 4 arming mechanisms on one of the bombs activated after it separated. So I mean, it was about ready to pop. That one was very close. The other one just pretty much parachuted. And it basically they all crash into a tobacco field north of Goldsboro. Yeah, plunged into a muddy field at around 700 miles per hour. And disintegrated without detonation of its conventional explosives. But the first one also had no chance of an explosion either, even though it had arm 3, or 3 of its form arming systems. So yeah, it was really. There you go, Pico. You can rest easy knowing that your state was almost nuked itself.
I like that sarcasm.
I mean, we could also talk about the underground atomic tests in Mississippi, and the only atomic test that took place to the east of the Mississippi River. That was a thing. Caused the ground to start caving in. Yeah, that's fun. There's also the Palomares incident. There's another one up near Vanderburg. There are a few incidents where there were atomic bombs that were jettisoned from aircrafts. I believe there's still one missing from the Palomares incident, if memory serves me right. One of those bombs were never recovered because we don't know where it went. We found, I think there were either 2 or 4, or 3 or 4, and we either found 2 or we found 3, but we didn't find the other one, so we don't know where the other one is. So, mysteries in the air. Could go right up there with the Malaysian flight that disappeared in the Indian, which I am still convinced it was shot down. So,
How about the South African flight that crashed in the Indian Ocean too, under mysterious circumstances?
I don't know this one.
Ooh, okay. So, in 1987, a 747 Combi variant actually was flying from Taiwan to South Africa. It was about to make a stopover in Mauritius when the aircraft caught fire. Something in the rear cargo hold caught fire, and it crashed. And there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there about this because of just the very, very secretive nature of apartheid South Africa and its deal and the limitations it had in dealing with the rest of the world. Because at this time was sort of like the peak of the anti-apartheid movement worldwide and sanctions, so they really didn't have a lot of outlets. Taiwan was like one of their few friends because of the whole anti-communism thing.
Right.
So, yeah, a lot of these theories are still circulating, and no one's really concluded what caused the fire.
It was the Demon Core.
It could have been something like it, because there are conspiracy theories that the aircraft was being used to transport nuclear material.
That's what it was. It was the Demon Core. It was still around.
Well, there's your theory.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Totally.
I want to see if I can actually find this atomic incident that I was referencing. List of civilian nuclear accidents, because I'm pretty sure it was a civilian incident.
Did it involve an aircraft?
No, it didn't. It involved just material that was smuggled, and
Okay.
and stupid people didn't know what it was. But they were handling it anyway and couldn't figure out, I don't know why my spleen just came out of my mouth as pudding.
That sounds about right.
Let's see here. Pico, you want to talk about Chernobyl? Why don't you talk about Chernobyl while I try to find this?
I would have to pull up the page.
I love this description. PAX Hungary, 4 May 2009. What happened? Workplace accident is how it's described. A device fell in the reactor hall while transported. Wow, you're just softballing that one in, aren't you?
Let's see. So I'm just gonna read this off, summarize it throughout the Wikipedia page about the Chernobyl disaster, is what they're calling it.
Well, it was a disaster.
Yes. Nuclear accident that occurred on April 26, 1986. It took place at the nuclear power plant. I mean, where else would it take place at? In the city of Pripyat, in the north of the Ukrainian SSR and the Soviet Union.
Yep.
And this is only one of 2 accidents that were nuclear based.
Oh yeah.
That were rated at the maximum severity.
The other one was 3 Mile Island.
Oh boy, that doesn't say a lot about that. But yeah.
Yeah, the other one was 3 Mile Island.
Yeah. Apparently the accident happened while a safety test was ongoing on a steam turbine of the nuclear reactor. So while they were decreasing the reactor power, it unexpectedly dropped to it basically dropped almost to 0, and the technicians were not able to restore the power level for the test, and the reactor became unstable as a result of this, and the risk was not made evident in the instructions. Isn't that fantastic?
Oh yeah.
And instead of doing the smart thing and aborting the test, what did they do?
Kept going.
They proceeded with it.
Mm-hmm.
And upon completing this test, the reactor shut down, and it controlled a chain reaction, which, as we know today as the Chernobyl disaster.
3.6 wrong, kid. Not great, not terrible.
Let's see.
They get an F for safety.
Yes, definitely.
Have you guys seen the HBO series?
I want to.
Of what? Chernobyl? Or
Yes.
no, I didn't even know that was a series.
Oh yeah.
It is fantastic.
It's pretty good. I cannot find this for the life of me anymore. I did not make this up, did I? I hope I didn't make this up. I can't find this anywhere now. I know I bet you anything it's on freaking the creepy Wikipedia article Reddit. What you want to bet?
Probably so.
That's probably where I read it too. Damn. So it's gonna be like this really obscure named incident. Yeah, I'm not finding it. List of civilian incident, because I just looked at the military one. Is it specified here? Let's see. Wait a minute. I just read this here. This isn't what I was looking for. An experimental bone marrow transplant treatment was performed on all of the individuals exposed to a test. This is in Serbia in 1958. And somehow they were able to survive a lethal exposure to radiation. An experimental bone marrow transplant is what saved him. Interesting. Sodium cooling system, graphite debris partially blocked the fuel channel, causing the fuel element to catch fire. Yeah, that doesn't sound all that bad. Operators neglected to remove moisture-absorbing materials from a fuel rod assembly. That also sounds like a... That seems like a bad thing. Oh, here's one. This is in Pennsylvania. So if Will ever watches the VOD, this one's for Will. So, Middletown, Pennsylvania. This is 28 March 1979. Partial meltdown, equipment failures, poor user interface design, and worker mistakes contributed to a loss of coolant and partial core meltdown at 3 Mile Island. Imagine that.
3 Mile Island, of course.
Yep. While the reactor was extensively damaged, on-site radiation exposure was under 100 millirems, less than annual exposure due to natural sources. Area residents received a smaller exposure, or about 1/3 of the dose of eating a banana per day for 1 year.
Oh, jeez. All this is reminding me of the one, like the numerous Soviet submarines that had reactor incidents.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Which
Yep.
What was it? I'm just trying to find some of these because I distinctly remembered them. I just need to remember the specific details.
I just do not understand. It has to be... Well, there's the Fukushima incident. Criticality accidents. Oh, so the first criticality accident was in 44. That I did not know. Really? Okay, so Otto Frisch received a larger than intended dose of radiation when leaning over the original Lady Godiva device for a couple of seconds. You dumb shit. He noticed that the red lamps that normally would flicker intermittently when neutrons were being emitted were glowing continuously. Frisch's body had reflected some of the neutrons back to the device, increasing its neutron multiplication, and it was only by quickly leaning back and away from the device and removing a couple of their uranium blocks that Frisch escaped them. Afterward, he said, "If I had hesitated another 2 seconds before removing the material, the dose would have been fatal." 3 February 1954 and 12 February 1957, accidental criticality excursions occurred, causing damage to the device, but fortunately only insignificant exposures to personnel. The original device was irreparable after the second accident, and it was replaced by the Godiva 2. Interesting.
Okay, I found this particular one.
Okay.
So in 1986, this is the submarine K219. So 1986, the submarine sprang a leak in one of the missile silos, and it was off the coast of the it was off the coast of the eastern seaboard in the Atlantic. Sorry, it was actually Bermuda. Sorry,
okay.
Around there. And the seawater reacted with the missile fuel, which caused an explosion, and when that happened, the hold on, I'm just trying to. So, just figure this out. Yeah. So sorry. The leak came from the seal in a missile hatch cover failing. They managed to close that, but they also had to. They were also going to have to tow it back, but in order to do that, they had to shut the reactors down. And the problem was that the submarines were designed to have the reactors automatically shut down in incidents like this, but in this case, it hadn't. So what happened was one of the reactor officers ended up going into the reactor compartment himself, in order to shut it down.
You fool.
Yeah. No, he ended up. Yeah, but he didn't actually die of radiation poisoning. He actually died from asphyxiation. And then another seaman had to go in, and then he managed to close it. Wait, actually, and then he also died of asphyxiation in the reactor compartment.
Jeez.
Yeah. And then after all that was done, the Russians claimed that the incident was caused by a collision with an American submarine.
Bull. Oh wow. How are you gonna? Okay.
Yeah. Apparently this is still the official conclusion, and the captain and the XO have both categorically denied this. Like, they've straight up said they refuse to do anything. Like, they refuse to have anything to do with like official functions regarding the incident because they do not accept that line of events. They did, however, but in the West, there was a movie made about this, and actually, the captain sued the producers because he argued that that the film didn't portray events accurately and made him look incompetent.
Wow.
And they ruled in his favor.
That just seems like a really bold strategy. You know, we're gonna claim that it was another country that rammed into us. Okay, well, now you better get them on board too. Pro tip: don't walk into nuclear reactors. Well, yeah, generally you don't want to do that. You're right. All right, guys, Philadelphia experiment time. An alleged military experiment, supposed to have been carried out by the U.S. Navy in the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard around 1943, and it surrounds the USS Eldridge, the Philadelphia experiment, and the story shows up in 1955, and by and large, the Philadelphia experiment, in my opinion, has more to do with optical camouflage than it does what some of the conspiracy theorists say that it is. I believe that if the Philadelphia experiment was something that actually did take place conclusively, then what actually it was experimenting with is the most effective dazzle camouflage they could come up with that would work in all types of different sea environments. Does everybody know what dazzle camo is?
Yep.
Okay. Just in case you don't know what dazzle camo is, it is camouflage that you basically have on a ship, and it is so incredibly loud and obnoxious that it is disorienting, and you can't tell what is a ship and what is water. It is extremely disorienting to see, especially when you're looking at it through a periscope. and this would be used to really throw off, especially U-boats. It was especially useful with U-boats, which was the primary threat during World War II. So I believe that it was something that largely had to do with dazzle camo, but the conspiracy theories are that it had to do with total optical camouflage and or teleportation of one massive piece of equipment and people from one place to another over large distances. So the documented naval experiments. I'll read you this section here because this is probably the most factual, or at least the less disingenuous of the entire article here. Personnel at the 4th Naval District have suggested that the alleged event was a misunderstanding of routine research during World War II at the Philadelphia shipyard. An earlier theory was that the foundation for the apocryphal stories arose from degaussing experiments, which had the effect of making a ship undetectable or invisible to magnetic mines, which is also something that I could see as well, because we were messing with that. The possible origin of the stories of levitation, teleportation, and effects on human crew might be attributed to experiments with the generating plant of the destroyer USS Timmerman, whereby a higher frequency generator produced corona discharges, although none of the crew reported suffering effects from the experiment. So what I think too is that we were doing around this time some very interesting research on LSD. That is something that we were actually doing. So I have a feeling that might have played something into where these perceived experiments might have come out of, because I mean we're talking 55 is when you start seeing people talk about the Philadelphia experiment. Really wouldn't be that far out there for these to be people that might have been exposed to LSD at that time. So I do not buy for an instant that they were messing with. We are still messing with optical camouflage today. That's a thing that we're still actively doing. So and if we haven't perfected it now, we weren't working on it then. So
meanwhile, in Ace Combat, where at this time in the timeline, it's already been perfected.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. Because what's the thing that has the high was it Hightasm?
That's that's a submarine missile. What you're thinking of is the airborne fortress thing.
The giant, yeah, the X-49 giant, Gigas X-49.
Hang on, the Gleipnir.
Yeah, the Gleipnir. Yep, that's the one. Stupid thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I still regret not being able to rescue my PSP so I can send it to you.
It's okay. I had a PSP, but it's okay. It's fine. We will live. We will all survive somehow. But yeah, guys. Crazy shit that happens in history. Cold War, to me, Cold War era is definitely the weirdest, because everybody's keeping secrets from everybody during that time.
Mm-hmm.
So you get some of the weirdest stuff. But there's other weird stuff that happens in other times too. Pico, are you ready for more history about your state?
Which city is it now?
Why, Pico, you of all people should know this particular location. Why?
Which is it?
Why, it is, of course, the well-known, renowned, and probably abducted by aliens village of Roanoke.
I was afraid you were gonna say that.
That's in Virginia.
Okay, well, it's founded by, Sir Walter Raleigh, who shut up, Bonnie.
Who is the namesake of the largest city in the state? Yes. Sorry, the capital of the state.
Technically, it was North Carolina.
It was actually would have been Carolina. Well, no,
Yeah.
actually, it would have been. Well, yeah, actually, it is. Roanoke Colony is in North Carolina, not to be confused with Roanoke, Virginia.
You're right. The Outer Banks are in North Carolina. I forgot.
Yep. So, Pico, do you want to talk about Roanoke, or would you like me to talk about Roanoke? I think you should talk about Roanoke, though.
No, thank you. I think you should talk about.
Why, Pico? Do you not? Have you ever been to Roanoke? Roanoke?
I've been there one time, but that was when I was a little kid.
Did you not like Roanoke?
I don't think I would remember 22 or 20 years ago.
I don't know. Maybe you did. I don't know.
I'll let you take this one.
Okay, so real quick here, I have to actually dig in and find this because I wrote a paper on Roanoke. So let me find my paper here. Isn't it terrible? I've composed so many of these that I don't remember what I wrote. I don't remember what my stance was on these. Let's see here. No, we don't want the Battle of Incheon. That's a little bit more recent than I want. Thank you. Heartbreak Ridge. Maybe it's in this one. Sorry. I'll find it here in a second. Couldn't have been that long ago, could it? Oh, here it is. Mystery of Roanoke. What I pretty much, I'll read you the conclusion here. The mystery that spanned more than 300 years remains today, although we are making progress in better understanding what may have caused the desertion of Roanoke. Climate and terrain of the colony may have made it such that it created devastating conditions for the first settlers, and as a result they had to flee to save themselves. The paths may have had them cross native populations that could have either welcomed them into their communities or executed them. It's still too early to determine for sure if what happened at Roanoke was natural or man-caused, but the evidence continues to grow. One thing remains certain, however: the first colonists at Roanoke have never been accounted for, and it remains one of the biggest unsolved mysteries of the New World, is what I concluded with. That being said, the colony of Roanoke pretty much had about, it was about 100-ish people that had originally settled there. There had been failed attempts to settle previously, those of which failed. Eventually, they are going to try again. Oh, Bonnie's got a video here. That's fantastic. They will attempt to resettle once again. When they do this time, basically there's a resupply that comes in periodically, bringing supplies. And one time the supply ship comes in, they find literally nobody there, and they basically are trying to figure out where in the world the settlers have gone, because they disappeared without really much of a trace, if anything. Now, the conspiracy theories, there's a lot of conspiracy theories about Roanoke. They were eaten by some unknown creature. They were haunted. They were abducted by aliens. They were exposed to divine intervention in some shape, way, or form, or something along those lines. There's a whole bunch of different things. But in general, the situation in Roanoke at the time of the Roanoke colony wasn't all that great. So they were one of the only colonies around. The closest Other colonies were a pretty decent click away. In that particular year that Roanoke colony goes missing, they have an exceptionally brutal winter. I'm sorry, I don't know if what cut out there. They have extremely bad drought conditions, and they have poor hunting conditions. And this is back in the 1500s, to give you an idea, so there's really not a whole hell of a lot for them to go on. But by and large, it's associated largely with bad resources. There's no resources there, so it makes more sense if you assume that they kind of fled from the colony rather than, oh, they were, it's a big mystery that we'll never be able to figure out. Well, if you look at climatology, it's not that hard to figure out, because we know that there was a really bad cold snap around that time that gripped most of the northern hemisphere, especially in the wintertime. We estimate that we haven't even seen anything like that during our modern recording era. So it's something, but it's a mystery because the ship sailed off and everybody was fine. The ship came back and everybody was gone. So it of course leads to a whole bunch of speculation. So that's Roanoke. That's Roanoke. Pico, is there anything you'd like to add about Roanoke?
Well, if you ever go there, I would just say just pay your respects if you ever decide to go there and stuff like that. But
and don't talk to the guy that's trying to sell you blue pills in a baggie.
Yeah, if you see someone holding a blue and a red pill, just stay away.
Yep. Especially if he's wearing sunglasses and it's nighttime out.
Yeah.
Don't approach, don't engage.
But yeah, if you ever go there, it's just be sure to pay respect, stuff like that. As you do at other historical places. But still.
Yeah. Is it like a guarded thing in the great state of North Carolina?
I honestly don't remember. And I'm pretty sure after 20 years, it would have... The people would have changed it up and made some adjustments, stuff like that. But I honestly don't remember.
I see Seven Sice is here. So, Bonnie, do you want to talk about that time that we confirmed that body snatchers are real and they only live in Florida?
Oh, no.
I do not feel like I have the intellectual capacity to understand the minds of the Florida men.
That was a good answer. That was a smart answer, too. I think the whole settlement left. They said they could have joined a tribe. They could have. What you need to understand, though, around that time is we don't really have... That region would have been largely either Algonquin or... I don't think Miami would be up that far. They weren't all necessarily friendly towards settlers. I mean, and not without good reason. So that's why I said at the end of the paper that I wrote up that the most likely thing would have been they either joined and integrated into other tribes, which is say that maybe a couple of them did, or they were just murdered by other tribes.
Don't judge me. Food.
What are we calling spooky history now? Florida men. Has 7 resubs for a year. Yes, we're talking about the elusive Florida men. Which reminds me of the X-Files episode of the Garden of Youth, where they deal with the red-eyed children creature things, and they're just like, well, no, they're not red-eyed children. It's just Ponce de Leon, and he's still alive and murdering people now. Good old Georgia or Florida Wood. So, what an uplifting stream tonight. Talking
Indeed.
about death and destruction and explosions and terrible things that happen and all that stuff. Yeah, it's an uplifting night.
Yeah. You could call it that.
Should we? No, I'm not going to talk about that. I don't know. It was just fun. What a coincidence. I've been talking about the same things at work. Ah, see? There you go. Well, I don't have anything in particular else. Bonnie, do you?
No.
Pico?
I came to this stream not being prepared.
Neither did I.
Yeah, neither did I. You're not supposed to prepare for these. You're supposed to just go with it. See how you are?
I mean, do we have any scary stories about COVID?
It exists. That's a scary story.
Yeah. I was trying to make it last longer as a subject, not fast.
No, the only other one that I've got on my mind is the one Soviet submarine commander that prevented the whole world from exploding.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Well, there were actually a couple instances of that.
Yeah. The last one I think was in 91 or 92, and it was because there was a research rocket that was fired off from like South Dakota or North Dakota, actually I think it was. That was near one of the missile sites, and they thought that it was actually an ICBM because it was so near one of the sites.
Mhm.
And they're just like, no, let's just wait and see, because it was just one that went up. So, and it was just a test missile. All that it had on it was instruments. It didn't have any explosives. How on end we are. Of course, this is it. I think it's next year, isn't it? Next year, that is a major anniversary for the Cuban Missile Crisis in October.
Mm-hmm.
I think next year is, yeah. It's
60th anniversary.
Yeah. So we get to talk about that next year, chat. And don't worry, we definitely are going to. I have Robert Kennedy's entire memoirs on all of that. It's actually a good read if anybody ever gets a chance. It's called 13 Days.
And if Chad is lucky, we will talk about it more than one time.
And we probably will talk about it more than one time. But 13 Days, it's a pretty short book. It's an easy read. I would encourage anybody who's interested in that stuff to look into that, because it's a pretty decent read. So, at any rate, guys, it's been real. I think we are going to switch things up. I think we are going to go right into Tales of Arise here. Which means we're not going to end stream, because I'm just going to go right into this here in a few minutes, but we will take a break in the meantime.
Yeah. You know,
So-
Tales of Arise is nominated for a Golden Joystick, right?
No, I didn't.
It's been nominated for Best Storytelling, I believe.
I could see that. That makes sense.
Yep. So, anyone who thinks it deserves it can vote for it in the
Yeah.
meantime.
There you go. So, Pico, appreciate it. Bonnie, appreciate it. Rest of chat, appreciate you all. Feel free to stick around. Yes, 7, Lady Night. And I am going to try and use this headset and see if I can get it to work with the capture card now that I updated to Windows 11. If I can't, you'll just have to deal with me switching headsets here in the middle of it. But we are going to take a break. When we come back, we'll get right into Tales of Arise. So don't go anywhere, guys. And Bonnie and Pico, I will say farewell for now. Appreciate you both being on, and we'll see you guys again.
All right.
All
Yep.
right. Take care. All right, chat. Now, you know what to do. It's time for you to get up and stretch and go get something to drink. And when we come back, we will get right back in to Tales of Arise. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back soon.